I cannot wait for the MAGA civil war that is inevitable. It is coming. And we're already getting previews of it already. It's some of these people have been picking fights with one another over the last few months, but this Iran business has really heated things up a little bit. It's going to cool back down, and these are just the opening shots, but there's going to be a full-on knockdown, drag-out, MAGA cult fight on the right as this second Trump administration winds down. And when it'll really start to wind down and this fight to heat up is after the midterms. I mean, that is when a second-term president enters his full-on lame duck period. Because essentially, the day after the midterm elections, the presidential election starts. And once that happens, it becomes obvious to everybody. You know, everything sort of changes. There's a sense of change that the guy's on his way out, and these new people vying for the office start to emerge. And that's really going to do a lot of things on the right. One thing it's going to do is drive Trump insane, because more and more people are going to start to take the attention from Trump as a Republican primary for the Republican nomination for president gets underway. And Donald Trump hasn't really had to deal with that since 2015. He has been the center of attention on the right since 2015. He's been the center of attention virtually of the whole friggin' country for most of that period of time. But certainly, he's been the top dog in the Republican Party since 2015. Even when he was out of the White House, you know, everything Republican revolved around that piece of shit. And although they tease it occasionally that Trump might run for a third term, it's not happening. He is not going to be on a ballot again. Now, he may very well try to pull some shit to stay in office illegally. I wouldn't discount that as a possibility, but he's not going to be on a ballot. And by the way, someone asked me today whether I was confident that there would ever be future elections in this country. Or did I think that there would be future elections in this country? And I said that, yes, I do think we're going to have elections in this country, including for president in 2028, but I wouldn't put any money on it. So I think we're going to have elections, but I'm not really confident that we're going to have elections. We know Donald Trump doesn't care about the law. We know that he tried to stay in office illegally last time, incited a violent insurrection as part of a criminal conspiracy to essentially overthrow the republic. So you'd be a fool not to think that he might try something like that again. So we'll have to wait and see. But just for argument's sake, let's assume that there are elections. And by the way, how would that work if Trump tried to stay in office illegally? Because he's not going to be on the ballot, as I say. But what if he is committed to staying in office illegally? And what if a Republican wins in 2028? So we will have an incoming Republican president and then Republican Donald Trump refusing to leave. How would that go? I hope that doesn't happen, but that certainly would be interesting. Anyway, I'm kind of getting far afield of what I began talking about here. Talking about the MAGA civil war. So after the midterm elections, the attention's going to start going from Trump to these people who are running for the Republican nomination. That'll drive him insane. There will be different factions of the Trump cult backing different kinds of candidates, because there is not a cohesive set of principles or policies that bind these people together. Most of them, and I'm talking here about, rank and file Republican Trump cult voters, most of them don't believe in anything, right? I mean, it was just essentially yesterday that they were all anti-war, and now they're all praising Donald Trump for illegally bombing another country. So these people don't believe in anything other than Donald Trump. But there are some of them who actually do believe in some things, and you will see fault lines. You will see different candidates appealing to those different groups. It's going to be such a mess. It's really going to be such a freaking mess, because, as I say, there's nothing that bound them together or binds them together right now other than Donald Trump. And once it starts dawning on these fools that their cult leader is not going to be on the scene much longer, they're going to start going after each other as new people and new groups within the MAGA coalition vie for power and dominance. And the one thing we know for sure is these are not principled people. They don't have policy debates. They just attempt to destroy their opponents. That's what Donald Trump does. He doesn't engage in debate. He tries to destroy people. And that is a lesson, and it's worked for him, and that is a lesson that these Republicans have learned. You don't have to engage in policy debate. You just simply try to destroy other people. And up until now, they have been using those tactics to destroy people exclusively, really, against, Democrats, anyone who doesn't support Donald Trump. But as the MAGA coalition begins to splinter, as the cult leader leaves the scene and they start attacking each other, they're going to start using those tactics on each other. They're not going to have policy debates. They're going to try to destroy each other personally. And it's going to get ugly. Now, as just a little preview, there is a fight between Steve Bannon and Mark Levin. And it's been heating up over this Iran deal. Now, Mark Levin is pro-war with Iran. There's been stories and reporting coming out over the last few weeks leading up to Trump's attack on Iran that Mark Levin was one of these, part of a group of people who had been pressuring Trump to take this action. Steve Bannon is adamantly, anti-war. He did not support Trump taking action against Iran. In fact, before Trump did bomb Iran, Steve Bannon said that if he did so, he would be betraying MAGA. Now, that's some pretty strong words for a guy who does nothing but kiss Trump's ass. So when Trump bombed Iran, Bannon really started attacking Mark Levin. He hates Mark Levin, apparently. And I hate both of these guys. So, and those of you who've been following me for a while know that I have a special hatred for Mark Levin. He is one, to me, he is the biggest sellout in all of right-wing media. He was never Trump when Trump was running for office. He was vicious against Trump. He was correct in everything he was saying against Trump. But he has a talk show, a nationally syndicated radio show. And once he started really attacking Trump, 2015, 2016, he started losing audience. So he did an about face, like so many of these people in right-wing media did. A lot of these people who have their heads up Trump's ass every day, a lot of them were never Trump at the beginning. They sounded like J.D. Vance, who, Trump is the next, mustache guy. Don't want YouTube to punish my channel for saying the H word. Anyway, so many of these people just completely sold out. Like Mark Levin, when he began to lose audience and therefore money, he turned on a dime and has been kissing Trump's ass ever since, just for money. And so and so many of them did this, but Mark Levin wraps himself up in the Constitution. He calls himself Mr. Constitution, for crying out loud. Anyways, I really hate this freaking guy. Hate Bannon too, but I love seeing these people tear each other up. And I got this article here about some of the recent back and forth between Bannon and Mark Levin. So I just want to read a little bit of this to you. This is from MSN. Last week, I'm picking this article up after a couple paragraphs in. Last week, Bannon said he believed it was a mistake for the U.S. to take direct military action against Iran and urged the president to question Israeli intelligence and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's warnings. He fanned the flames after calling for the Department of Justice to investigate whether Fox was cheerleading the U.S. to war with Iran. So Bannon's also been bashing Fox, which is great. Bannon labeled the Fox host, meaning Levin, because he also has a weekend show on Fox News. He called Levin a hyena on the Monday episode of his War Room show, adding Levin and Senator Lindsey Graham were, quote, jackals who fed off death and destruction. On Tuesday, Levin called Bannon a contemptible piece of shit and a disgusting fraud. Bannon hit back again on Tuesday, coining the insult Tel Aviv Levin. He then slammed the Life, Liberty, and Levin host. Isn't that a stupid name for a show? That's his Fox News show, Life, Liberty, and Levin. Give me a break. He called Levin a spokesmodel for a foreign nation. He continued, quote, boy, Tel Aviv Levin is big mad. He's big mad. Bannon also took aim at Levin's employer, Fox News, for their coverage. Quote, now, why are Tel Aviv Levin and all these guys, why are they so apoplectic? Because we defeated them, Bannon said. They're all a joke. And of course, at Fox, they're a mouthpiece and a propaganda arm for a foreign government. Levin followed up and let loose on Bannon in a string of posts after Bannon's show on Tuesday. One labeled him, hold on, flip the page here. Where we go? One labeled him Trump backstabber, pardon me, Bannon. I guess that's one term. Trump backstabber, pardon me, Bannon. In his most lengthy post, Levin said, quote, nobody gives a shit about you, Bannon, a confessed and convicted fraudster. You're a liar. You cheated how many people? At bottom, you're a certified disgusting fraud. Of course, he's right about that. And it shows every time you open your big mouth. By the way, let me just pause it right there. You know, because Bannon was pardoned by Donald Trump for defrauding Trump voters. So when Trump was in his first term pretending to build his wall, right? And he was trying to get money for his big, beautiful wall. Hey, how come we don't talk about that anymore? Are we giving up on that? No more wall? What happens when the Orange God King leaves and there's no wall? Yeah, whatever. People don't give a shit. Anyway, when we were going through all of that and Trump was trying to get money for his wall, Bannon and another guy, Brian Calfage, I think his name was, came up with this scheme to defraud Trump cultists. They said, give us money, and they set up a nonprofit. Give us money through our nonprofit, and we will give it to Trump as president for him to use to build the wall. I remember at the time I explained, trying to watch out for these Trump cultists, you know. I explained how anyone who gave that money, they were being defrauded. because what Bannon and this Calfage guy said that they were going to do with this nonprofit is not legal. You can't give money to the federal government and earmark how that money is going to be used. You can give money to the federal government, but it just goes to the general treasury. And money cannot be spent legally, constitutionally, for any purpose unless it's been approved by Congress, authorized by Congress. So you can raise $1 trillion to build that stupid wall, give it to the government, but the government, Trump can't spend a dime of it for the wall unless Congress passes a bill authorizing that money be spent for the wall. So I explained how this was all just a con job and you people are being scammed. Of course, they didn't want to hear that. So they attacked me and gave them money. And of course, it was all fraud, as I warned them. And these two got indicted for the fraud. And Trump pardoned Bannon. So Bannon sets up a scheme to defraud Trump voters, and Trump pardons the guy who defrauded his... People are so freaking stupid. Anyway, let me back to this article real quick. Levin continued to unleash, quote, "You opposed our great military and commander-in-chief at a time when they acted to destroy Iran's nukes. 80% of Americans backed the operation. You and your tiny cabal of lunatics gave aid and comfort to the enemy." The Fox News host added, "Now you prance around like you support our country." Actually, I should probably be doing this in a Mark Levin voice. Wish I could do voices better than I do. You ever hear this guy, this screeching? God, he's so annoying. "Now you prance around here like you support our country, rather than apologize for your outrageous disloyalty." That's really kind of what this jackass sounds like. "And you stabbed the president in the back, in the middle of the battle, despite the fact that he pardoned your sorry ass." Oh, man, he goes on and on. "You're a contemptible piece of shit. You always will be a certified, convicted, confessed fraud who ripped off patriotic Americans." Patriotic Americans. Blithering idiots is what they are. Anyway, you get the flavor of it. This is what's going to be erupting all over MAGA world as this presidency drags on, especially once we get past the midterms. You're going to see this kind of thing. And these aren't the only two going at each other. You got Laura Loomer picking fights with people hitting back at her. There's a whole bunch of them. This was just particularly good. Anyway, and you know, in this whole back and forth, they both of them, like, they try to put down the other by accusing them of not supporting Trump enough. That's like the worst sin in MAGA world. You know, when you're in a cult and you got beef with another cultist, the worst thing you could say about them is they don't support the cult leader as much as you do. And so that's what both of them are doing here. The problem is for Bannon, he's on the wrong side of what Trump did here. Right? At least Levin's coming from a point where Trump agreed with him on Iran. Levin supported the strikes. Bannon opposed the strikes. Remember, Bannon said before this happened, you'd be betraying MAGA if you did this. Yet, Bannon goes at Levin again and again, accusing him of not supporting Trump enough. And, you know, here's the thing. Bannon's attacking Levin for supporting these strikes on Iran. But he has no criticism for Trump, who actually ordered the strikes on Iran. These people do this all the time. They'll actually oppose something that Trump did, and they will attack other people for supporting what Trump did, but they never criticize Trump for doing it. It's the most amazing freaking thing. These people... I mean, I can't relate to this way of thinking, but, you know, when you're in a cult like these people are, it does something. It turns your brain to mush. You don't care how you sound. I guess as long as you kiss the cult leader's ass, it doesn't matter what else you say. Whatever. Oh, and the other one final thing about all of this. So people like Bannon, and you could take it on any number of issues, where certain of the Trump cult base doesn't support Trump. He'll occasionally do things that some of these people oppose, but they'll never criticize him. They'll always blame somebody else. You ever notice that these people, whenever Trump does something that they don't like, it's because somebody gave him bad advice, or it's his advisors, or somebody else's fault. Somebody caused him to do that thing that they don't like. Never his fault. But yet they tell us that the man plays 4D chess and he's the smartest person in the history of the planet. He's the greatest this, the smartest that. He's in control of everything. He's pulling the strings. He's playing 4D interdimensional chess. Yet when he does something fucking stupid or something that they oppose, suddenly it's not his fault. He's not in control. It's everybody else's fault, except Grandmaster Trump. Again, it's a cult. They gotta, turn themselves into friggin' pretzels to try to defend this guy. Anyway, just wanted to bring that to you because it's so delicious watching these two go at it, and it's gonna get better. So stay tuned. Anyway, that's it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon.